It's the city known as the Paris of the Middle East, but tonight it's looking far from idyllic. Beirut is battered following a massive explosion in a port warehouse. The resulting shockwave destroyed dozens of buildings, killed more than 140 people, injured around 5,000 and left at least 300,000 homeless. It's also thought to have caused around $15 billion worth of damage. We'll hear from our reporter on the ground about the lasting impacts on Lebanon, which was already struggling with myriad issues. But first, the timeline of the blast which shook a nation.
2 explosions have rocked the Lebanese capital.
Flashes can be seen as some kind of combustible material catches light. And then this.
The sheer size of the blast could be felt across Lebanon's capital, leaving homes utterly destroyed and residents desperately checking on their loved ones.
The shockwave was felt all over the city. A place so scarred from decades of conflict had never seen anything quite like this before. Nearly 3,000 tons of ammonium nitrate, which had been stored at the port for 6 years, exploded with a ferocity many likened to a nuclear bomb.
Bride Isra Seblani was posing for her wedding photos when the explosion ripped through the streets around her.
It is very distressing. I can confirm that there has been one Australian who's been killed, which is terribly devastating.
I was fishing. I heard that there was a fire. I turned and started to head home and heard something explode. Then this happened. I got injured. I didn't know anything.
Everybody was in a state of chaos and everybody was panicked.
You have slabs of concrete, the frames of doors. I don't know if you can see that building has had, it looks like some sort of business here, local business, that's had its windows completely blown out.
Medical services in the country, already buckling under the weight of coronavirus cases and shortages in medicine and equipment, are now dealing with a national catastrophe. 2 weeks state of emergency has been declared by the president.
Anger is growing. The former Prime Minister Saeed Hariri's convoy was attacked by protesters. He and his family are amongst the elite blamed for the corruption, which many here say is at the heart of all of the country's problems.
And no one here can understand why it is that the government would put this volume of an explosive and store it for so long in unsafe conditions. And it's not as if there weren't warnings. There were warnings.
Officials have started an investigation into the cause of the explosion. A number of port officials were placed on house arrest today, pending the conclusion of this search for answers.
I have one concern, that if other countries are going to help Lebanon, and if they're going to give the money to the government, then it's like they're giving money to those who destroyed us and killed us. They will steal the money.
With a tidal wave of anger sweeping the country, President Macron stepped onto the shattered streets.
I'm here to bring help, to coordinate. We will launch a European and international initiative to bring money and help directly to people.
It's hard to see how Lebanon can withstand this. It was already suffering the worst economic collapse in its history, plunging hundreds of thousands into poverty. Many more will now be added to this list.
The explosion could hardly have come at a worse time for Lebanon. The Middle East nation is facing the worst financial crisis in its history. The currency has been in free fall, unemployment is above 30%, and it's estimated more than half the population will be living in poverty by the end of the year. I spoke earlier with Sky News correspondent Alex Crawford.